Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 205, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram. Today is Thursday, June 16th. I was a day ahead all this week, I think, because I had to write the date on a bunch of things yesterday, and I think I wrote the 16th on yesterday. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's the 16th now. Did you know that all of the dates this week are palindromes when written numerically, at least here in the United States? If you're in one of the countries that always puts the date first, then the month, then it wouldn't be. But here, like, it's 6/16/16. You know, yesterday was 6/15/16, so it's 6/1/5/16, 6/1/6/16. You know, palindrome, same backwards and forwards. You knew that. But anyway, that's always cool. I saw that on Facebook. Somebody posted about that, and I thought, how nifty. Anyway. Oh, there's your little bit of trivia for the week. How are you? I hope you're having a good week. It is muggy already. Yesterday, it started getting super humid again here. The temperatures are getting warm. I think it's supposed to go up into the 90s today. It's only 74 right now, my phone. My phone is telling me it's only 74. Now it's asking me to change my location. I don't know why, but anyway. Yeah, oh, it's 75 now. Okay. We don't need a weather update. So yeah, I've got the air conditioning running. I hope the noise isn't noticeable, but anyway. And I've got a whiny puppy at my door. Oh my gosh, this dog. I'll tell you more about Muffin later. We had an interesting weekend. But anyway, thank you for being here. If you are new, thank you for checking the podcast out. As always, if you've been watching for a while and keep coming back, thank you. I appreciate you spending some time with me. I do have some new people who introduced themselves on the 90% Knitting board in the welcome thread. So let me say hello to Cheryl from Kentucky, Holly from Missouri, and Jen from Texas. Thank you, all of you, for checking out the podcast and for introducing yourselves. And I'm glad you're enjoying watching. So anyway, let's get going into the knitting because there is some, there's knitting. Let's start with the wedding skirt, shall we? First of all, okay, so y'all know, if you've been watching, I'm getting married in August, couldn't find anything that I really liked that I wanted to wear, so I thought I'm going to knit myself a skirt because I like skirts, I don't like dresses. So I have, I'm getting married August 20th. And so I've got plenty of time to knit myself a skirt, right? Okay. So here's how far I am. I told you last week, I think I ordered 6 more balls of yarn, and they did come in, and I ordered new needles too. So I got some Knitter's Pride Dreams, the wooden ones, and I do like them a lot better for working with this yarn. The yarn that I'm using is Elspeth Lavold Hempathy. This is the Snow Shadow color, which that's pretty accurate. It's a little less bright than that, but this is 34% hemp, 41% cotton, 25% modal. So I've got plenty of yarn. I've got 16 balls of this, and this is 153 yards a ball. I'm not going to use all of that, but I feel better knowing that I have extra if I need it. Anyway, I'm basically very, very loosely using the Paint Chip Skirt by Jill Stover as my idea that I'm springboarding from, but I'm not really following the pattern at all. I've hardly looked at it. In fact, it's been sitting here on my desk ever since last week. So I cast on 252 stitches. I did a little over 1 inch and then did a purl ridge, which will be a turning row. I'm going to turn that under and seam that to make a casing for elastic. And so from the purl row on, this is the actual body of the skirt. I've got a little over 3.5 inches. I need this to be approximately 20 inches long. So I did the maths this morning, and that works out. I'm getting about 8 rows per inch, or 8 rounds per inch. So that works out to me needing to do approximately just under 4.5 rounds a day if I want to finish this within a month from where I am now. And that month date is very arbitrary. I just figure, if I finish this by next month this time, that would be mid-July. I'm getting married a little bit past mid-August, so that gives me plenty of wiggle room, right? Theoretically, to get this done. because the skirt is going to get bigger as I go down because I'm doing increase. I'm increasing as I go. I've done 2 increase rounds so far already. I'm almost ready to do my 3rd, and that's to get from my waist to the widest part of my hips. So I'm doing 4 increases there, which is fun because I'm just increasing. It's basically a 1-inch increase each time. And it's probably going to be a little bit loose, but that's fine because I would much rather have it be loose on that part of my body than clingy. We don't want clingy. Plus, I'm going to have a petticoat under it. But the top part of the petticoat's isn't going to be poofy. It's going to start to poof out like after the increases, the hip increases. So anyway, that's my plan. I have this in my brain. Like, I know what I want to do. I still haven't picked actual stitch patterns to incorporate in the other segments. And I'm actually sort of rethinking that. I may not do segments the way they have it in this skirt. Okay, so if you look at this, you can see there's those garter rows after every segment that's where they hide the increases, I know. I may not do that. I may just incorporate my increases in some other way, maybe within the patterning that I decide on. That remains to be seen. So stay tuned on that. I'm just thinking having a whole bunch of different patterns might look a little manic. And I want it to be not manic. I will be manic enough on my wedding day, probably. I don't need my skirt to be helping. So anyway, right now this sort of looks like a hot mess because the stitches are very uneven. Not from my knitting, but just because of the type of yarn it is. Like cotton stuff and plant fibers, I never seem to knit very evenly with. But I know that once it's soaked and blocked a little, it'll be fine. I'm not going to be blocking this aggressively because I don't need it to grow much. I think if it's going to grow at all, it's going to grow lengthwise, which may be, well, maybe not. It may grow, I don't know. I have not yet blocked my swatch, and you know, my swatch is tiny, and I'm actually rethinking my swatch, and I'm thinking maybe I should have swatched larger, because this is not, even if I do soak this, I don't think it's going to give me a very accurate representation of what it's going to do. Plus, my swatch was knit a whole lot tighter than I'm ending up knitting this. I don't know. It'll be fine. My plan at this point, though, is I think I'm going to go buy fabric to make a mock-up of the petticoat. So like a muslin of the petticoat, so that I can have it to try on with the skirt as I'm knitting it so that I can get the length right. And then just hope that it doesn't change a whole lot once it's blocked. If you have any experience, I have not gone on Ravelry and I have not read what people have written about things that they've knit with this yarn. I'm going to do that because I hope to find some information out about just how this yarn behaves when it is blocked, you know, if it grows a lot or what. I mean, it's hemp and cotton. It doesn't have any stretch. It doesn't have memory. Now the modal, which if I'm correct, and I don't know if I am, modal is kind of like a nylon, is it? That's what I'm thinking modal is. Maybe I'll look it up right now. And we can all learn together because I just don't really know. Okay, modal fabric. Modal is a type of rayon, a semi-synthetic cellulose fiber made by spinning reconstituted cellulose, in the case, often from beech trees. Okay, so it is also a cellulose fiber, so no, it really does not give any extra stretchy to the, you know, or bounce. Good to know. It's so nice that I do this kind of research before I start an important project, isn't it? Okay. So, yeah, I need this to not grow excessively. If it grows widthwise, I don't care. That'll be fine. I don't want it to grow excessively lengthwise. That's my more pressing concern. I don't know. We'll see. I still have not blocked that the shawl, that vacation shawl that I did that also has this same yarn in it. I should probably do that. Maybe I'll be able to tell something more from that. Who knows? But that's where I am with the wedding skirt. And this is my cute little glamping bag. I believe this one, I'm going to get this wrong. I'm not even going to tell you who this was by because I can't remember. It's either Sew For You or Naughty Gnome. I don't remember who did this bag. I want to say it's Sew For You, though. Did I keep the little... Sometimes I keep the tags on the inside because there is no tag sewn into it. No, but I know I've told you in past episodes. So anyway, all right. So that is my one knitting project. The other one that got the most love this week was the fireworks socks. So this is by the You're a Firework, You're a Firework yarn by Neely's Knits. And I don't remember exactly where I was the last time you saw it. I think I was maybe a couple inches into the cuff. I've finished the cuff now. I'm ready to start with my heel flap. So it's just the staggered rib pattern that I'm kind of winging. It's not really a pattern that I'm writing or anything. It's just, I'm staggering the rib. Yeah, and it's going fine. I'm mostly knitting on the skirt when I'm knitting at all because that needs to get done. But the sock is US ones, my basic US ones. This bag is the Funky Chicken bag by Yuli. Designs by Yuli. Crafts by Yuli. I'm sorry. I'm so bad with this stuff. What does it say? Does she have a tag? Bag makers, I really wish you would put tags on your bags so that I know these things. Oh, wait, here's the Knitter's Nook. But the woman who does it, her name is Yuli. Uli. Creations by Uli. There it is. So, but her Etsy shop is knittersnook.etsy.com. Okay. So, those are really the only two things that I knit on this week. This morning, I sat down and I cast on a hat, another charity hat, just because everything I'm knitting is on super small yarn right now. Technically, that Hempathy is considered a DK weight. I'm not seeing it. I would say it's maybe a heavy sport, but it's really not a typical DK. I'm knitting on US 4s. So maybe it's a light DK. I don't know. But I needed something a little bit heavier just to give my hands a break. So, yeah, this is just more of the Encore worsted that I have in my stash. I've got it in this huge Bags by Awesome Granny bag, but that's because I've got like 3 different balls of Encore in here just to use for hats. Obviously, it's not taking that much, and it doesn't, take an entire ball even to make a hat. But I cast on 84 stitches for this one. I'm doing 2x2 rib. I've got a little over an inch done, and this is on US 7s, Knitter's Pride Dreams Needles. So yeah, that's it. That's all the knitting I've done this week. However, that's not all I've done, because true to form, when I have a huge project that I really have a deadline that I have to meet, suddenly I want to do all of something else. And this week it was spinning. So last week I showed you the bobbin that had this yarn on it. This was the Stormy Sea loop bullseye bump. Well, I wound it off into a singles. Again, I did not ply it. It's just the singles. I talked about trying to felt it, felt the yarn, fool the yarn. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not now. I may just leave it the way it is and knit with it like this. I'm not sure yet. I haven't had time to research the process of felting yarn, and so I'm definitely not going to do it before I read about it and try to learn about it. But I kind of just like how squishy it is right now. Anyway, let's see. Let me tell you yardage. I can tell you how many yards I got from this. The Stormy Sea Loop Bump, I got 261 yards. And that was, I don't remember how many ounces. It was over 4 ounces, but between 4 and 5 ounces of a loop bump. So, there's that. Then I pulled out another loop bump because I enjoyed spinning that one so much. And remember, I spun that woolen because suddenly I'm on a woolen spinning kick apparently. So I did this one, and this was another loop bump. And this one was called Seriously Sorry. So this is one of the ones that has not only sparkle, but it's got bits of sari silk in it, recycled sari silk. I love how this one turned out. These colors are great. They're just so much fun, aren't they? Anyway, again, it's a singles, woolen spun, and I got really decent yardage from this, 360 yards. And this was over 5 ounces. I think it was maybe 5.1 ounces or something. Yeah, this was fun. And I would say it's probably a heavy sport weight. I don't know. I wasn't doing my reps per inch tool because I don't care. But anyway, But there's more. I pulled this one out. Actually, I pulled a different one out, but then I was looking in my spinning basket and I found this one. This is one that my daughter started to spin. She wanted to spin this one. It was called Skittles, a loop bump. And so she was new to the wheel. She hasn't done a lot of spinning. So I put it on and I let her go with it. And this is as far as she got. So I think she's got like the first color, which is this really bright pink. And then this orange, this bright orange. It's a little overspun, don't you think? Boing. Yeah. That's where she left off. She lost interest, never finished it, and she kept saying, I'm going to get back to it. So I never did anything with it. But then I finally thought, you know what? She's not going to do this. So I just wanted it out of my basket, and I want to reclaim that bobbin. So I spun the rest of it. This was not a joyful spin. Like those other two were so much fun to spin, and they spun super easily. I don't know if it was the fiber content. Oh, you know what? I didn't tell you the fiber content of the Stormy Sea was just merino. Okay, that was one of the reasons why I decided to spin it that way. Let me see if I can find the fiber content of Seriously Sorry, because it had a whole bunch of cool stuff in it. I don't know that I wrote it in. Let's see. No, I didn't write all the different fibers that were in it, but there was a whole bunch of different fibers. There was like merino and Corriedale and other stuff. I don't know. This one though, this had, okay, I just lost it. I'm sorry. Merino, Corriedale, bamboo, and Tussa silk were blended into this. So there was no sparkle, no sari silk, no anything like that. This bump was just really different than most of the other loop bullseye bumps I've ever spun. Usually, if you're familiar with them, they're like center pull bumps, okay? I don't have one here to show you, but they're a center pull bump, and when you pull it out, it's almost like a webbing almost. It's thin. It's like a bat, but it's fine. It's almost like pin drafted roving in a way, except it's flat. I don't know how. Okay, the best thing I could probably equate it to looking like, not texturally or how it functions, but you know that fusible, what's it called? Like stitch witchery or something? I don't know. It's that fusible stuff you can iron on to fuse fabric together. That's kind of what it looks like an interfacing kind of, like a fusible interfacing. Obviously it's not sturdy like that, but that's the best way I could describe it. You know what? I could just get up and get one. Hang on. Yeah. Why describe it using words that make no sense when you can actually show you? All right, so here's one I have. Okay, so it pulls out like this. Okay, so this one is fairly thick, but as you pull it out, I mean, look how thin that is. You know, it's nice, and it's really, there's like, I hardly ever have to do drafting with these because it's already so well drafted just in its prep. I can just spin from this. But that was not the case with this Skittles one. No. It was springy beyond all belief, and it is very, very squishy. Somebody made that comment on Instagram how squishy it looks. It's definitely squishy. It was like spinning elastic, and I don't know why. I mean, I know merino can be kind of springy, but I didn't have that problem with the other one that was all merino. So I don't know what was going on with this, but I can actually now understand why Emma was having the issues with getting it so overspun and springy, just because of the way it behaved when I was trying to spin it. But anyway, it's fine. It's done. I got 292 yards from this one. Again, you know, it's a singles, woolen spun as well as I could woolen spin it. I don't know what I was kind of just, you know, clawing it apart at different points. I think part of the problem too was it's been in my spinning basket for years, literally for years, and the bump was buffeted around and had stuff on top of it, so it was probably somewhat felted too, which is absolutely nothing that, you know, stuff from Loop did wrong. That was me. But I will say that the stuff that I was pulling out of it was much thicker. It was way thicker than what I just showed you from that one. It was probably double that amount of fiber. So I don't know why. I don't know what her process is of how she does them that would cause it to do that, or if it was just the combination of fibers. But it was not a fun spin, and I was really, really glad to be done with it. I do have another one sitting out there. I have not started it yet. Partly because my lower back is really, really hurting all of a sudden, and I think it may be because I'm spinning a lot when I'm not used to spinning. Not that I'm not sitting hunched over or anything. It's just that sitting and that treadling motion I think is aggravating my lower back. So I'm going to take a break from spinning for a few days. But I did spin a little bit over the weekend. And last weekend, I took my one spinning wheel, my Ashford Traveler, I took it up to Bill's, which is going to be its new home. I'm going to leave that one up there, and I'm going to spin on my sidekick here. And then when I have stuff that I spin on the Traveler that needs to be plied, I'll just bring it home. So I worked on that blue, the turquoise blue Briar Rose BFL. So you've already seen the first bobbin of it. The second bobbin has been languishing because I lost interest. I was bored, but I got it finished. And you know why I got it finished? Well, number one, I'm spinning out on the sunroom. It's like an enclosed porch with windows, you know. I don't know if it's really a sunroom. I consider it kind of a sunroom. But I was sitting out there last week, and it's so pretty because I can see the woods and everything, and it's all bright, and there's windows everywhere. And then I also spent some time like actually out on the back deck, just out in the sunshine, spinning, and that was awesome. But the other thing that made spinning this really awesome was I started spinning it woolen. And you know, my default is a short forward draw worsted spin, and that's how I spun this first bobbin. And that was how I started spinning the second bobbin. But when I sat down to do it, I was in woolen mode from spinning these other things, and I started doing it, and this spun beautifully. And suddenly, not only was I spinning woolen, but I was doing this long draw, like this backwards long draw. I never do backwards long draw. It's a control thing, and plus I've just never had fiber that it worked really well with, I guess, or that I was able to work it well with. I don't know what's up, but yeah, that's how I was spinning it, and it worked great, and I loved it, and it was so much fun. And it's really not vastly different. I mean, this is probably a little finer spun than this, but this is airier because it was spun woolen. I have a third bobbin on the wheel that I've started. I just didn't have time to finish it. So if you remember, I have two different bumps of this color. I don't know if they were dyed in the same dye lot, so I'm going to spin. I was originally going to do 3 plies with this, but I think I'm going to do 2 plies. So I'm going to spin a couple bobbins of the first bump and then a couple bobbins of the second bump, and then I'll combine, you know, one from A, one from B, just to make sure the colors don't get too wonky. And I can use it all in the same project if I want to. But anyway, I don't have the bobbin that's on my Traveler now is from the second bump. So I'm going to do a couple with the second bump, and then I can bring them home and ply them. I'd like to move forward with this because if I keep doing this, and this spun up super fast too. The woolen spinning I was able to do fairly quickly. I think because I'm not overthinking the spinning. This could be a lot of yardage for me, or meterage for me for Stash Dash, so that's part of it. But I need to like be better about not just sitting down and spinning and actually knitting on my skirt, because I need the skirt. But I have every ounce of faith in myself that I will get the skirt done. I can't say it, but I can do it. Okay. So that is all of my fiber crafting this week. Let's see. I do have it? Oh gosh, I'm going to say something that may not be accurate. Hang on a second. I don't have it. Okay. I told you about it last week, but I did not put anything up in the group yet. I will do that after I record today. Our upcoming knit along, which is going to start August 1st, so you've got plenty of time. We're taking a little bit of break because we finished the Mini Mayhem Cow at the end of May. I've got a lot going on between now and August I need to get through, and I need to take a break. So like I said, we have a thread up in the group about what cows you're taking part in. Please feel free to post there. Talk about your cows. Share the ones you're doing. I'd love to see pictures of what you're working on. Use that thread for that. But starting August 1st, we're going to be doing a new cow having to do with kits. And I talked about this last week, and I called it Knit the Kit. But the more that I thought about it this week, I thought, you know what, that's really kind of limiting. Because our last at least the last one, maybe last two knit-alongs were just knitting and crocheting related. They didn't have anything to do with any other fiber arts. And so I want to kind of open that up this time. So instead of calling it Knit the Kit, I'm going to call it Craft the Kit. I realized that Knit the Kit had both rhyming and alliteration, which going for it, which is always lovely. But Craft the Kit still has kind of alliteration happening, even though it's, yeah, Craft the Kit. It's alliterative. Just doesn't rhyme, but that's okay. So the Craft the Kit craft along will be open to knitting. So you can, if you have a kit for knitting, you can do that. For crocheting, you can do that. If you have a weaving kit, I don't know if they make weaving kits, but if you have some sort of a kit that had, like, I know weaving doesn't have like actual patterns for making garments, but I know there's patterns for doing certain types of weaving. So if you have some sort of kit that actually came with the yarn to weave plus the patterning or whatever, or maybe there are patterns for weaving certain scarves. I don't know. But as long as it's a kit and you can weave it, it's fair game. Felting, if you have any felting kits, like needle felting or whatever, if it came in a kit and you're using the fiber that you came with for that pattern, that's fair game. Cross-stitching and needlepoint, if you're doing any of that, I know lots of people are into that. If you've purchased a kit, that's the key here. It has to be a kit. It can't just be, you know, I have this pattern, I bought this yarn or this floss or this fiber, and I'm putting them together. That's not a kit. This is specifically for kits, okay? So if you've got a cross-stitching kit that you're going to do, great, that counts. Sewing, again, it can't just be a pattern you bought and some fabric you bought to make the pattern. But if you bought, say, a kit to make, I don't know. I know there's kits out there for sewing projects, like a purse or a bag or a quilt maybe, that comes with the pattern and the fabric. Fair game. I don't know that spinning would actually apply to this one because you don't usually buy fiber that has a pattern for spinning. I'm trying to think. I guess maybe the closest thing to that I can think of was like whenever I did the Spinner's Choice Club the last time, when I did the each fiber came with a lesson plan, like for a certain type of spinning project. If you have something like that, that would count for spinning, but otherwise I can't really think of how spinning might apply. But if you have something that you think qualifies, feel free to run it by me and I'll say yay or nay. But I'm just trying to open it up to as many fiber crafts as possible, just so that more people can take part. Because I want it to be about the fun and about the crafting and about the sharing of the projects, not just about it has to be this and it has to get done. You know, it needs to be, I want it to be more open and enjoyable for everybody, because I know that not everybody, you know, even if you are a hardcore knitter, you know, you have times where maybe knitting isn't your thing and maybe you are super excited about some sort of other craft all of a sudden. But it has to be a fiber arts craft. Like it can't be a paper craft or, you know, pottery or jewelry. It can't be anything like that. It needs to actually be fiber arts related. So that's fiber arts related, and it has to be a kit. Those are the two qualifying factors for the Craft the Kit or craft along that will be starting August 1st. And I will put information about that up in the Ravelry group after I record today so that it's out there. And I'm mainly talking about it this early so that you can get a kit or two if you don't have any on hand, because, you know, it's festival season. We're all going places and seeing things, and, you know, this will give you a chance to get something and have it ready to start on August 1st. So, okay. Stash Dash. I am up to 1,955 meters in Stash Dash. That's including all of the spinning. Well, not these. These don't count yet because they are going to be plied. It's your plied yardage if you're plying. But since those are singles, the other ones that I showed you, they count as they are. So I am almost up to 2,000 meters. I did end up declaring my spot in the 5K level this week. I decided, you know, with as much as I have already, I don't think I'm going to have any trouble getting up to 5,000 meters. So we'll see. But I have my spot there, and I've been posting things in it. So, yeah. Are you doing? Are you doing Stash Dash? How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Are you having fun? Tour de Fleece starts. Oh, I didn't write this down, but Tour de Fleece also starts soon. Let's see, seasonal. I have to go to my correct tab. Tour de Fleece begins on July 2nd and runs through July 24th. So if you are taking part in Tour de Fleece, I know that's not an actual like knit along, but it's a spin along. So please tell us how you're doing with that. Oh boy, it's raining. It's like it was storming all night, and now it's coming down again. It's been sunny, then it's been rainy, and what's one of those days? But anyhow, yeah, I don't know that I'm technically going to do Tour de Fleece. I'm in a spinning mode right now, but I'm not going to commit to doing Tour de Fleece in any official capacity. I'm happy just spinning what I want to spin right now, and that's good enough for me. We have questions in the Do You Have Questions thread this week, so I want to go ahead and answer those. And I need to pull something over here so that I can show you. This is my ironing board, otherwise known as my horizontal workspace in my office. But I have some things sitting here that I need to show you to answer one of the questions. So, the first question, let me get back to that. Sorry, I had all this up, but then I had to click off of it. Okay. The first question that was posted was from Ange in the East, who is Angela from New York. So hi, Angela. And she asks, what happened to that all-natural shawl you were knitting? Did I miss it being finished? Well, no, you did not miss it being finished because I didn't actually start knitting it yet. I'm assuming that you're referring to the shawl that I was planning to make from the Shetland that I spun last year during the Natural Colors spin-along that we did. I had put together those 5 different colors of Shetland into the spinning kits, and a lot of you purchased those. And I had one also, and I spun 4 of my 5 colors. So here they are. They're still here. So I had the natural, I have the fawn, the morit, and the gray, all waiting to be knit. I never spun up my black yet, though, although I did take that up to Bill's house, and it's sitting up there waiting to be put on my traveler. So maybe that'll get done soon. But no, my plan, I was going to do a hap shawl with this yarn, which the pattern that I have is by Gudrun Johnson, which she's got the hap and the half hap pattern. But I never started it, and I thought, well, I could still start it even though I don't have the last fiber spun, but I never did because, you know, squirrel and other things happened, and I started doing other things. The bottom line is too many shawls, too little time to knit them all. But I still do plan to knit a shawl using this natural fiber that I did because I love it. It's beautiful. The other thing is back in May, I pre-ordered Kate Davies' new book, which is a pattern book of haps, different hap shawls. I know it is now released because I saw some things about it on Instagram a few days ago. So I know it's out. I haven't received my copy yet, though. But hopefully it'll be here soon. I mean, it's coming from Scotland, I guess. I think that's where she's at, Scotland, right? Not the Shetland Islands. I don't know. She's over there. And it takes a little while for things to get shipped here. So hopefully in the next week I should have that book. And I'm going to look through there and see if there might be a hap that I would want to use this yarn for also. I can tell you I won't be starting it before fall just because I've got too much going on between now and then, and I've got other shawls that really need to be finished. But thanks for asking, because it did actually bring that to the forefront of my mind and make me remember, oh yeah, I was going to knit that shawl. I should spin the rest of that fiber. Anyway, thank you for your question. The other question I got was from Sarah, who is Shetmer. She's from Michigan, and she asked, could you please explain what rescanning is? Absolutely. That's a good question because I know a lot of indie dyers talk about rescanning, and back before I was an indie dyer, I had no idea what they were talking about. So let me explain the concept of rescanning. Rescanning, at its very basic, is when you take a skein of yarn and you wind it into another skein. You just reskein it. there's multiple purposes for that, and I'm going to talk about the main two reasons that I do it. And there are other dyers who I'm sure probably do it for other reasons or have to change their yarn from one form to another. This is from my perspective, though. Okay, so first of all, if we're talking about like a variegated or tonal yarn, rescaling that, okay, most of the yarn I dye comes in this format. Okay, this is an undyed skein of yarn as I get it from my supplier. Some of my yarn comes on cones and I have to wind it into skeins, but a lot of it I already get skeined up, makes it super easy to work with. So when it comes this way, if I am doing a variegated or tonal or semi-solid yarn, it stays in that skein. Like I get it, comes in a big bag with a bunch of other ones, I take them out, and that's how I dye them. And so when you see them in my shop, they look like this. Okay, this was dyed in the skein. This isn't the same yarn, but just for illustrative purposes. So this is a skein of Half Moon. Okay, the colorway Half Moon that I did recently. This has not been reskeined. This is exactly how it looked when it came out of the pan after it was dry. You can see where I applied the dye to the fiber. So there was a big chunk of this earthenware red color, and then you can see where the green speckling was, and the different colors that are in here. They're all still exactly where they were when I put the dye on the skein. So this is an unreskeined skein of yarn. However, when you look at my listings, you will see when I do this kind of yarn, I often take one skein and I reskein it. So that I'm basically taking the skein, okay, to reskein yarn, the purpose of reskeining is to mix the colors up so they don't show up in chunks like this, and you get a better idea of what the yarn might look like when it's knit up. I don't have another skein of this colorway to show you that has been reskeined because that one shipped out, somebody purchased it. And this one I'm keeping in my stash because I'm going to use it. But here is a different colorway that has been reskeined. This is Falmouth. And you can see, I mean, when it was dyed, it looked very similar to this, different colors. But when it was first dyed, this is how it looked. But after I reskeined it, this is how it looks. The colors are all mixed together. The greens and the blues and all the speckles have been mixed up by the reskeining process. What makes reskeining work is the fact that you're taking a skein that's, say, 60 inches in circumference, and you're reskeining it into a skein that is maybe 56 inches in circumference. That's what makes it work, because if you just did it, 60 inches to 60 inches, it may not mix up those colors very well at all because you're not changing the size. It's changing the size of it for this kind of yarn that will mix up those colors and give you a better representation of what the yarn's going to look like when it's knit up. So that is one reason that dyers will reskein yarn. I do not always do this with all of my variegateds and tonals, only because it's a very labor-intensive process and I don't always have the time to do it. But I like it when I do it, and I'm trying, especially with these variegated speckled colorways I've been doing lately, I am trying to take one skein of each colorway and reskein it so that it's there and you can see what it's going to look like. Okay, so that is one reason for reskeining. The other reason for reskeining has to do with self-striping in particular. So okay, let me preface this part by saying that there are different ways to dye self-striping yarn. The way I do it is not the way everybody does it, but this is my process. First of all, I dye it in segments. So I have a warping tool that I've built out of PVC pipe, and I wind off the segments, the striping segments, by hand because it's hand done yarn. So anyway, once it's wound off, then each of those segments gets dyed individually in individual pans, which are on trays that all go in the oven. So whenever it's done and dried, this is what it looks like. So this is a set of Rainbow Riot yarn. So it's a 6 striping colorway, and it's kind of, look looking like a hot mess at the moment, but it's not. Anyway, so these are all, this is how it is when it's done. I couldn't send this to somebody this way. I mean, besides the fact this is actually 2 skeins because I dye in sets of 2, but there would be no way, even if I dyed single skeins that way, I couldn't send that out to anybody because nobody would be able to use it that way. So it needs to be reskeined. Basically what that means is it gets put back on my skeining tool and unwound and wound up on my skein winder. And so it is reskeined. And then it looks like self-striping yarn in a skein like you're used to seeing. So those are the 2 main reasons that I reskein yarn. There may be other reasons that other people use for reskeining yarn, but those are the primary reasons that I do it. You know, in the case of the variegated and tonal, it's to make it look more representative of what it would look like knit up. For the sake of, in the case of self-striping, it is purely practical because there would be no other way for me to sell that yarn or send it to anybody in its as dyed state. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little scattered. I had to pause before and take a phone call, and it's a lot going on right now. So anyway, trying to regroup. Anyway, okay, so that was it for the questions. If you have a question that you would like to ask me, please feel free to post it in the Do You Have Questions thread on the 90% Knitting Board, and I will be happy to answer them in a future episode. So, okay, that is actually everything I've got for the 90% part of the episode. 10%, I was going to tell you a story about Muffin. I think I mentioned that earlier. Last weekend, I had gone up to Bill's and spent the weekend up there, and I took Muffin with me. I don't always do that, but it's nice when she's up there because unlike my house, which I just have an open yard, and I can't really let her run loose because she'll run out the yard and run down the road and everything. Most of his property is all fenced in because he used to have dogs. He used to have huskies, and he had to be able to keep them, you know, in the yard. So his yard is all nice and fenced in, so I can take her up there and she can just kind of run free and do her own thing. She doesn't wander off too far from me because she's not quite that brave, and she's a very neurotic little miniature schnauzer. But anyway, it's nice having her up there because she gets to roam around and be a little bit more free than she is here, and she really seems to like it. So it's nice. But the other thing is that, like, you know, we've got some trips coming up, and ordinarily my son would be here to take care of Muffin. But even when he is here, like, we're going to be gone to Tennessee next month, you know, for SSK, and I'm going to be gone for a week. And that's a long time to leave her here and just have him taking care of her because he, you know, he works during the day. So she spends large periods of time in her kennel. Well, at his house, she can actually be loose. If I don't have her in the kennel here, she will pee all over my carpet. It's just what she does. I can't leave her loose in the house. But at his house, he has cats, but he has a cat door in the basement. So the cats can go in and out. And he's like, you know what, if she was up here, we could just let her loose in the basement during the day, you know, and she could go in and out. And I'm looking at him like, are you serious? You think she's actually going to go through that cat door? I mean, she's size-wise fine for it, but I said, there's no way. She's skittish about walking through human-sized doors. There's no way. She literally will, like, she'll wait at this door and then skitter her way through because she's afraid the door's going to, I don't know, attack her? I'm not sure. Anyway, I said, you're dreaming if you think she's ever going to go through this cat door. He's like, just bring her up. We'll work with her. We'll, you know, have treats, and we'll teach her how to use the cat door. I'm like, okay. I was not very hopeful. But anyway, last weekend, I was going to be up there a couple days, so I took her up with me. And, you know, when I got there, he was in the basement, or he was in the garage because he was working on one of the motorcycles. And so the garage door was open, and there's a door between the garage and the basement. And so I was down there, you know, I'd gotten her out of the car, and I'd walked down, and we were standing there, and she's exploring and everything, and then he needed something from the basement, so I went in and I got it, and she followed me in the basement while I shut the door. And as I was coming back out, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to see if she'll go through this door. So I got her in front of the cat door, and I held it open for her, so it was just a big open spot. And I said, go ahead, and I kind of nudged her, and she hopped right through. Went boop, It was like hardly even a hesitation. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so we repeated that a few more times that day. And then she finally just started going out by herself. Like if she followed somebody into the basement, we just made sure that we got out through the big door and then shut her in. And she would stand there for a little bit, and then the next thing you know, boop, she'd pop right out the door. And then by Sunday, she was going back in from outside. So she totally has the cat door down. I guess I should call it the pet door now. So she can do that, and it doesn't freak her out. I don't know why it doesn't freak her out compared to a big door, but a big open space versus this little confined rectangle. I don't know. But she did it, so yay, that's progress for her. The only downside to that, well, there's a couple downsides. Number one is she doesn't do steps. So if we have her upstairs with us and she wants to go out, she has to stand at the front door and whine for somebody to let her go outside, which she doesn't do very often because she never lets us know when she has to go to the bathroom. But anyway, but it's not like she would just willingly go down the stairs and then go out the pet door downstairs. So that's kind of an obstacle, but she never learned to do steps. She was a rescue, a puppy mill rescue, and her first few years of life, she was in this little tiny cage, never learned to do steps. I've never had any success teaching her to do steps ever since. So steps are an obstacle for her. The other downside to this is if we're going out, like we were going to go out to dinner Sunday evening, and so we left her in the basement because she can't damage the floor down there. He has wooden floors upstairs, and I don't want her peeing on the wooden floors in case she would decide to pee nervously. So we just leave her downstairs because she can't hurt anything. She can't destroy anything downstairs in the basement. And the pet door's there, so she can go in and out and be outside if she wants to. Well, the downside to that was when we left, like we were on the motorcycle, and she came out through the pet door, and I said to him, I'm like, I'm afraid she's going to try to follow us. And I told you, the whole place is fenced in. Well, it's also got a gate, like an electronic gate that also has the fencing on it. I said, what if she follows us out the gate before we can get it closed? And he's like, you know what, I'm going to turn this bike on, and she's going to run because she's not going to like the noise. I'm like, okay. So, he started the bike, and she did back up a little bit, but then we started going up the driveway, and she followed us. And I said, she's right behind us. He's like, don't worry. As soon as we start opening the gate, she's going to run. The cats hate the door. Or the gate. They always take off. She's probably going to do the same thing. I'm like, okay. So we started opening the gate and pulled up through the gate, and she ran right out. And I'm freaking out because, the main road's right there. And he stopped the bike, and he got off, and he's like, here, you close the gate. I'm going to take her through, close the gate, and then I'll run through. So he did. I closed it, and he sat her down, and he got through before it closed, and she was on the other side. And I'm just like, this is not good, because when we're away, I'm planning to leave her up there so that the person who comes to take care of his cats every day will be able to be there, and plus she'll be able to go in and out whenever she wants to, so she's not going to just be stuck in a kennel all day while Chris is at work. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, what if that guy comes to feed her and he doesn't know that she's going to run out the gate? And what if he doesn't see her? And, I'm panicking. I'm thinking my dog is going to be smashed on this road. And he's like, it'll be fine. Let him know to watch for her. It's like, oh my gosh. So then I'm trying to think, okay, how can we create an edible leash that we could tie her on that would slow her down just long enough for us to get out the gate, then she could chew through the gate, through the leash. I know, it's ridiculous. But, these are the thoughts that go through my mind. So the whole time we were out, we had to go to Walmart, and then we went out to dinner. The whole time we were away, I'm thinking, we're going to be going back, and we are going to find her trilling down the road. She's going to have found some way out of this fenced-in yard. And he's like, no, there's no way she could do that. And I'm sort of thinking, okay, you're 0 for 2 so far on all the things you said was going to happen. But as it turned out, we got back, and she was not outside. I did not find her smashed along the road on our way back. And when we pulled down to the house, she came popping out of the basement through the door. So she did, I guess she decided we weren't coming back right away and lost interest, and she went back in the house. So at least I know she can do that. So that's a big thing for her because Muffin is special. She's just a little not all there. She did not have an easy life her first few years, and she's, miniature schnauzers are high strung anyway, and she is no exception to that. Plus, she's got her own special issues. So, anyway, it was really cool that she can actually use that door. So, I'm just going to keep taking her up there, and hopefully, we can keep working with her and maybe train her to not run out the gate. I don't know, but anyway, there's that. What else has been going on? I finally got my tomato plants and squash and everything in the garden the other day. I am so not into this garden this year. I've just got too much other stuff going on between work stuff and, getting ready for the wedding stuff and getting ready to move stuff. I could care less about this garden, but I bought the plants and the garden was tilled, so I put the plants in. Who knows what they'll do? I still don't have the things in the front flower bed, and I haven't trimmed my hedges yet. They're looking so overgrown. They look terrible. I usually have that done by this point in the year, but I guess it'll get done eventually. But not today, because it's a really crappy rainy day. Hi. I have to keep pausing today. I've had to pause a few different times. I apologize. I hate having to splice the podcast together like this, but it's been unavoidable. At any rate, that's all I've got for you for 10%. I do have a shop news segment that I'm going to do in just a minute. I need to pause again and run and get everything. But I was in the process of processing the podcast when I realized that the end part of this segment was really weird. I don't know what happened to it, but I decided I would just re-record it rather than trying to cut the weirdness out of it. I don't know. So, technical difficulties. At any rate, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see what's going to be in tomorrow's update at 3 p.m., please stick around. If not, then I will see you next week. Have a great rest of your week and have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you later. But otherwise, hang on and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and this is the Shop News segment of the podcast. First of all, just a reminder that June is the last month of the second quarter. So if you are going to enter anything in the Fibernymph Dye Works second quarter finished object drawing thread over on the Fibernymph Dye Works board, you have until through June 30th to do so. And then on the first podcast of July, I will pull a winner for a $25 gift certificate from that. And those projects do not need to be started during the second quarter. They just need to be finished during the second quarter. And that's anything that you have knit or crocheted or otherwise fiber crafted with Fibernymph Dye Works yarn or fiber. So there's that. Next, the update. This week's update is tomorrow, Friday, the 17th of June at 3 p.m. So it's an afternoon update. This is a little bit different of an update because there's absolutely no self-striping going up this week or any sock. Well, that's not true. There is some sock yarn, but no self-striping yarn this week. I did, however, focus on putting kits together. So since we've got the kit cowl, the Craft the Kit cowl coming up in August, or craft along. I gotta stop calling it a cowl because it's more of it's a CAL now since we're doing a craft along. Anyway, I dyed up yarn to put together for both the Flurry kit and the Color Tracks kit. So the Flurry is my cowl pattern, and this is a sample of it here. Has a tag on it because I take it to shows. Anyway, so this is the Flurry cowl, and so I have that in several different color combinations. There will be a couple in the original colors of the one I just showed you, so that's peacock blue and spring water blue. There will be a couple in magenta and lime. There will be a couple in, I think that's the right one, hang on. There's two colors that are really close. Hot cherry pink and cold steel blue, which is a very grayish blue. And lastly, there will be one set in charcoal gray and silver gray. So, anyway, that's the Flurry kit. Now, the Color Tracks hat, that is not my pattern, but that pattern's by Melissa Transtrom. But I have been putting together kits that will also include, okay, so back up a minute. The Flurry cowl kits and the Color Tracks kit come with the yarn you need as well as a pattern code that you can download the pattern from Ravelry. Okay, so that all comes together. You're paying for both yarn and pattern, which makes it a kit, which makes it something you can use for the upcoming craft along. Anyway, okay, so the Color Tracks hat, this is the Color Tracks hat. This is by Melissa Transtrom, and this is the one I knit. So I use the magenta and lime set. So that's this one. There will be two of those. There will be two also of the hot cherry and cold steel blue, and then there will be two in the original colors that she did it in that you'll see on the pattern, which was turquoise blue and undyed. So there will be 6 of those, 7 of flurry. So if you're looking for kits, you have those. There are still, I believe, 5 Rambler skein plus pattern, and this is again the Rambler cowl of mine. This is my pattern. There are 5 of these left in the shop from before. I didn't dye any new ones. I am going to be dyeing some new ones though, because I'm also working on getting this stuff together to take to SSK, so I'm doing a little bit of both. But anyway, if you're looking for a kit for the cowl, there's a lot of alliteration going on there. There will be those options for you this week. Okay, additionally, I'm working on restocking my semi-solids in the shop. The supplies of those have dwindled quite a bit, and I have not restocked them in a while, so I started dyeing up some semi-solids. I did fingering weight this week. So I will have, and some of these there's like single skeins in the shop now, but there will be more, and others there weren't any. So, okay. So I've got some magenta, aqua shock blue, grape juice purple, electric purple, silver gray, peacock blue, and I'm not sure. I've not done this one before as a semi-solid. It's a newer color. I've used it in colorways, but I've never dyed up the semi-solids. I'm either calling it toxic green or toxic ooze green, because it really makes me think of that toxic glowing ooze from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the original, the cartoons and stuff. So at any rate, I have some hesitation to call anything toxic, like toxic green. Like, really? Is it toxic? No, it's not. It's just that bright, toxic-y ooze colored green. But I also don't really want to call my yarn ooze, because that sounds sort of gross. But anyway, so toxic green. It's a fun color. I love it. It's so bright. It's like that safety green that you see like road workers wearing. Yeah. Anyway, so those are the new semi-solids, or the newly dyed semi-solids that I'll have in the shop this week. And I'm going to continue to just dye more and add more to the shop as I go along. Lastly, there's going to be some fiber, because I haven't had fiber in the shop lately, and the Tour de Fleece, oh my gosh, I can't even talk. Tour de Fleece is coming up, and so I wanted to be able to have some extra fiber in the shop for you guys. So I have got 5 different colorways in the shop. 2 of them are on BFL silk, and so there will be a couple braids of Doubletree on BFL silk. And there will be a couple skeins of, okay, this one I have not yet named, because it's very similar to a couple of other colorways I have, but I changed up the yellow. It's a much brighter lemony yellow than the one I usually use in this combination. I think I'm going to call it Fire, because that's what it reminds me of. And like Bill was here last night, and he was looking at it, and I'm like, well, what does it remind you of? What does it make you think of? And he said it reminded him of a sunrise. It doesn't really remind me of a sunrise so much. Kind of, maybe. Maybe fire in the sky. I don't know. Look for it. It'll be something fire related. So there will be 2 skeins of that, and that's also on BFL silk, or 2 braids. The other 3 are on mixed BFL, which is a combination light and dark BFL. 2 of the braids I'm putting up undyed. This is what it looks like before it's dyed, and I think it's absolutely beautiful this way, and I am dying to spin some up this way. But I thought I would put some up there in case you were interested in spinning it as well in its undyed state. So there'll be a couple braids of it in undyed, and then the other ones, there will be 2 skeins of it in Scylla Beware, which has some tonal the dark peacock blue and spring water, turquoise blue. I'm sorry. I love how that dark BFL comes through, and it looks so neat when it's spun up. And then there'll be 2 braids of dappled, which it's funny because dappled is really a bright colorway on regular BFL or on a regular white fiber or whitish fiber, natural colored fiber, but on this it's just so much darker. I do actually have 1 braid of dappled that I dyed up for a different order. It's on regular BFL and it just kind of imploded. It's in a couple different pieces, so I'm probably going to put that in the shop at a discount just because it's kind of a hot mess at the moment. It's still perfectly spinnable. It just doesn't look pretty in its braid form at the moment. So I'll probably put that up at a discount. So anyway, that is everything going in the shop. Oh, the other thing that I'm going to try to put together, I don't have it here, but I have a lot of differently dyed colors of bamboo that I was using when I was making bats. I'm not making bats at this point, but I've got a ton of bamboo. And it's really fun to spin and add in as you're spinning. So I'm going to probably put together like little sampler packages of that, and you can I'll have those in the shop, and if you're interested in, getting a whole bunch of different colors of dyed bamboo that you can add to your spinning in whatever way you want to, then it'll be there for you. Okay, that's everything. I know it's a smallish update, and again, sorry, no self-striping this week, but there will be some next time probably. Otherwise, I think that's everything I've got for you this week. I hope you're having a good week. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and dry if you're getting all this rain that we're getting. And until next time, take care.